We have been told now the Miami Heat forward Victor Oladipo has decided that he needs medical attention immediately. He's going to go into the operating room later today. Surgery on a mangled right quad. The quad's all messed up. The tendon's all messed up there, so he's going to have an operation. He's looking at a elongated rehabilitation situation. Now, Oladipo was anticipating a massive payday. Not the candy bar. He was thinking the real deal here, and he bet on himself. He bet on himself in free agency. Could have signed several contracts, decided not to do that. And it looks like instead of a sneaker deal and a big fat contract, he will be fitted for a cast. And if he's lucky, a walking boot. That's what he's going to get. So let us discuss the question. What are your expectations now for Victor Oladipo, who is going to be one of the larger names? Not a great year for free agency in the NBA when the summertime comes around, but he was going to be one of the bigger names. And what does the future hold now for Victor Oladipo in free agency? Well, you've come to the right place, because I am a distant relative of Nostradamus and friend of Nostradinus. And when I was a kid, I used to watch Miss Cleo commercials. So I got you covered. Now, I've got human biology, tanker ships, and Joker. And we will connect all of this together. We'll play Connect 3, which is a spinoff of Connect 4. Now, first of all, Victor Oladipo, it's fair to say that he has fallen and he can't get up. And people have accused me of being cruel and insensitive, as I often pick on Anthony Davis, who was injured yet again, missed a game, they said, because of a groin injury in Lakerland. And he is Humpty Dumpty. Well, if he's Humpty Dumpty, his cousin is Victor Oladipo, right? They are cut out of the same cloth here. And you don't have to be a cynic to know that this is not going to have a happy ending. Oladipo is officially in that category of player that is labeled, and it's written in large ink, damaged goods. Right? Handle with care, very breakable. He's earned the distinction. If he was a desert, well, I guess if he was a desert, he'd be the Sahara Desert. But if he was like a treat you have, candy or whatever, he'd be like peanut brittle is what he would be, right? His body has collapsed numerous times in a very short NBA career, relatively speaking. So it's a cautionary tale. And I was curious because I remember doing a lot of commentary. We talk about the NBA a lot, and Oladipo's name has popped up on our radar. And it always seemed like it was relating to some kind of injury. And sure enough, it is the cautionary tale. You look at the medical charts, and the medical charts of Victor Oladipo read like War and Peace. Not one, not two, 3 pages. 3 of injuries. It is a master course on human biology. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. If I said, name a part of the body that Victor Oladipo has missed a game with or missed time as an NBA player, it's shooting fish in a barrel. Can't miss. Ankle, knee, both knees. Bad foot, both feet, lower back, wrist. He's had a concussion. He's broken part of his face. He had a facial fracture. Quad now. He's dealing with the quad injury. Oladipo is 29 and has the body of a 65-year-old. Since his last All-Star appearance with Indiana, which wasn't that long ago, he has been limited to 52 games. He's played for 3 different teams. He shot 37% from the floor, which is, generally speaking, not a bankable combo. The milk has spilled. It's all over the table. You might want to get a towel and clean it up. Now, secondly, Oladipo is the epitome of double trouble. Okay, not only did he crumble because of injuries, but in the process, he ended up pulling off the basketball version of the Montreal screw job to not 1, but 2 franchises. First of all, stepping in wearing the dunce cap, the Houston Rockets. Now, the Rockets, they had an opportunity to get Caris Levert. They had acquired him from Brooklyn as part of the mega James Harden trade. And while most knowledgeable basketball observers would say you'd much rather have Caris Levert, the Rockets said, no, we need Victor Oladipo. And so they flipped Caris Levert and a couple of draft picks that were not high draft picks, and they sent that and some cash they got from Brooklyn to Indiana. And the Pacers said, okay, we'll give you Oladipo, and they got Caris Levert, who's 26. And in poker, they say that a player like Caris Levert's on the come. He's been pretty good. And guiding light, you could even say. Not a star yet, but on his way. He's averaging over 20 points a game and is building up the resume of a player on the rise. And then you look at the other side and you look over at Victor Oladipo and you're like, all right, we got Caris Levert over here and we've got Oladipo over here. And Oladipo originally was up here and Levert was down here. And now they've passed, right? Like tanker ships passing in the night out in the middle of the ocean. And on Wall Street, they would say that Caris Levert is a buy and Oladipo is a sell in stock terminology. And so, listen, the Rockets got burned. All right, they get to wear the dunce cap, but they're not the only ones. Then the Miami Heat also said, wait a minute, we need some aloe vera. We got a little bit of a sunburn here. There's some inflammation of the skin. And what happened there? Because Oladipo was whining and he didn't want to play in Houston because the Rockets weren't good enough for him. So he wanted to play in Miami. So finally the Heat, through surrogates, figured this out. They sent Kelly Olynyk, who's actually played pretty well on a terrible Rockets team, so who knows if that's meaningful or not because it's easy to put up numbers on a bad team. But Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, a first-round swap, a swap option in next year's NBA draft, the 2022 draft, all of that involved in the Oladipo trade. And for that, the Miami Heat thought that they were getting a player who was going to be a key contributor as Miami attempted to rise up and get back to the NBA Finals again out of the Eastern Conference. Well, instead, Victor Oladipo played a measly 4 games, the same number as his uniform. I bet the Heat wish he had put 99 on his jersey instead of 4, but 4 games for the Heat before turning the engine off and needing the car to be towed to the chop shop. And that's where he is right now. Now, the final thought. So I want to circle back to something we mentioned earlier. Victor Oladipo gambled on himself. A noble act. I think most of us do not have the chutzpah, the courage to do that. I certainly have not done a lot of that over my life. I wish I had done more. But Victor Oladipo bet on himself. And he pulled the Joker. He pulled the Joker card. He was offered a reported $100 million plus contract from the Indiana Pacers. And when that offer came, he snickered. He snickered. And I'm not talking about the candy bar. And then a few months ago, the Houston Rockets said, we'll give you like $45 million, something like that, for a couple years. And he shook his head. He said, I don't want any part of that. I'm better than you. Right? I'm better than you. And right now, he would be willing, I would think at this point, considering what the market looks like for a player like Oladipo, he would be willing to give his left pinky finger to get even $45 million. Forget $100 million. All quiet on the Western Front, right? It's don't call us, we'll call you situation. And here's what I see happening. Right? My hypothesis on Victor Oladipo and free agency in the NBA, he will be led down the garden path, the DeMarcus Cousins garden path. Now, Cousins kept getting hurt, and he had to sign. He's still on he's on a pretty much a make good contract with the Clippers. He's been on make good contract after make good contract. He's on prove it contracts, and that's what Victor Oladipo is going to have to do. He's going to have to take a step back, show that he can stay healthy, and even though this sucks for Miami right now, you've got the micro and the macro. In the micro, it's bad, but in the the micro, it's not good. The macro, it's a blessing in disguise. If Oladipo, and this is a big if he turns out to be okay, because you're going to get him without any kind of intensive free agent contest. Assuming Pat Riley wants Oladipo back, you can get him for a fraction of the cost, pennies on the dollar. I'm talking about marked down at a bargain rate. And abracadabra, Victor Oladipo went from filet mignon to chopped liver, just like that. And as far as that big money, hey, goodbye. You can say that for the big old money. And even though, and I just want to clarify, I always say there's a sucker born every minute, and I believe that to be true. There's always that one team that's just really stupid and desperate and needs someone to sign so they can get some people excited for their team. But even that, I do not believe exists in this case, because nobody's going to be lining up with the Mega Millions lottery payout with Victor Oladipo. That door has been slammed shut and deadbolted at this moment.